last hour, and I'm like, no, I don't even want to open the door on it. Just leave
Okay,
it.
we are being
So-
live streamed right now, and there you go. That button got pushed ahead of me. So good to see everybody. Thanks everybody out there for joining us for our 2022 solstice gathering. And I am here with these beautiful souls, my friends, our Ascension team, and we are going to offer our hearts and share with you our perspectives on this solstice, this sacred day, the shortest day of the year, the return of the light. We're in the time of all the religious traditions and all these great teachings is about the return of the light, letting go of the darkness. And we're going to each give our insights and reflections on that. And also want to remind you that I know a lot of you guys were intending to join us on last weekend for our Ascension 22, but sadly we had to postpone that till the 31st, which actually New Year's Eve, it turned out to be a great date. We're looking forward to it. Next, New Year's Eve is next Saturday. So the 31st at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and really look forward to having you join us. And all of this information, all of our websites, the registration, all of that will be on the YouTube link that's going to come of this conversation here today. So before I forget, I'm Reverend Charlotte McGinnis, and I'm here with Jason and Heather Powers, and Shannon Plummer and Bob Sima, and of course, Dale Allen Hoffman. So I'm very excited to share this time with these awesome souls and to really explore the meaning of this time of year, the power that it can bring to us of release and waking up to the light within. So that being said, I am going to turn it over to our first presenters, and that will be Bob and Shannon. So Bob and Shannon, welcome.
Thank you.
Happy solstice.
Happy solstice to everyone. Yeah, I guess we're here to just anchor you guys into the solstice and also, be talking a little bit about the 31st event, which is was moved because my sister passed back about a week and a half ago, and or about 2 weeks ago. And so we were up in Baltimore, and then I've had a very dark little period the last couple of weeks. Got some physical stuff going on, healing from that. And so, we're just grateful that the four of you guys were able to pivot, and we can move this to the 31st, which I think it's just apropos for just close out the year on the last day. So,
and it's what a beautiful day to talk about spirit as we're receiving breaths and we're moving into a new year and breathing out that old, taking that final breath of 2022 and receiving that first breath of 2023. So spirit will be the topic on New Year's Eve for the final Ascension 2022 event. How cool is that?
That's awesome. And I've been thinking more about it as the time gets closer. I'm not a big planner. I don't think either of us are. We live kind of more in the moment. And just in this moment right now where we are, I want to invite everybody to just take a moment and just be still. And whether that's to just drop into your breath, just be aware that you're breathing. Receive a deep breath in, let it out. However you do your breath work, just be still. And really, that's all it takes, that moment, that one moment, because this day, solstice, I think the word means sun stands still. And it's that moment where the sun is literally standing still at that moment in time of the actual solstice. So it gives us a chance to reflect. It gives us a chance to stop, because we all know that when we don't stop and we keep going and going and going, we just burn ourselves out, and we are not working from spirit. We're working from human hands and form. So I just wanted to offer that little reminder, that, solstice is really a time to reflect. And it could be in the darkness. You could sit in the total light, or you can sit in the total darkness. But my offering is that stillness, is that stopping, standing still.
Yeah, for me, solstice, we just went through the autumn. So when things die off and things are falling and that death process. And so it takes us into the time of year where we're supposed to be quiet. We're supposed to be still. We're supposed to be in the darkness. We're supposed to be digging down into the earth, into our subconscious, and bringing, what's going to be birthed in the spring. And here we are, like, frantic around these times with the holidays. And what do we do? We're, decorating and wrapping and giving gifts and socializing and everything. And I always say it's no wonder that we find ourselves stressed around this time of year, because the earth, nature, is asking us to be still and quiet. And what's in that subconscious, that this winter season is about that. What's our subconscious telling us, and what wants to come up and be seen and be heard and be witnessed and acknowledged, so that we're birthing, into that spring season next. So, we're always, it's duality, right? We're such creatures of duality and conflict, whether we create it ourselves or we just participate in these activities. So I find that quite interesting myself.
So that was a good perspective, I think, from the two of us. And again, on the 31st, we're going to be going deep in with some songs and some meditation and some breath work, a little bit of dialogue, and then of course all of us are going to share. But we're really excited to share on the 31st. So we'll kick it back to you, Charlotte, and thank you for letting us share.
Oh, well, thank you. And that was beautifully said, both of you. Thank you so much. And Bob, of course, all of our hearts here, all of us here have been surrounding you with our love for these past couple of weeks. And we're so sorry. And I know so many people have been asking about you. So all our prayers and love are with you. So
thank you so much. I felt all of you. I really did.
Oh,
and I still do.
Well, I wanted to remind you guys, if you are planning to join us on the 31st, and our events are all offered on a love offering basis. You can join us for as little as $1, and you can register at ascendwinter.eventbrite.com, ASCEND winter.eventbrite.com. We'll put it out there. If you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, it's all going to be there, but that's where you can sign up and register. And we'd love to have you join us on the 31st. It's going to be a beautiful way to sort of wrap up the end of the year, take all of our experiences over the year. This will be actually the 5th and final. We went through the 4 seasons, and in addition to the kickoff last January 1st. So the Ascension 22, and we were just brainstorming beforehand, so we may have something exciting to offer in the new year. It's interesting how Spirit just drops these things into us, and we hadn't even thought about it. And when you're open, Spirit just said, okay, maybe this is what we could do next year. So stay tuned. You might hear it on the 31st. So I'm going to move right along here to my dear buddy, Dale Allen Hoffman, awesome teacher, expert on Aramaic things and much more than that, and just a great guy, and a new father/grandfather. And wow, Dale, you've been busy. So
explain that one.
I know you explain it. That
I know I'm from the South, but all right, we're not going there. But no, just to fill in the gap on that one, we had a little baby who's not so little anymore. She's almost 7 months old now, actually. Or where am I at here? She's 6.5. She's older, but I can't keep up. But we had her for our oldest daughter, Lucinda, and her husband, Jordan, because they couldn't seem to have one. So our 4th child is actually our first grandchild, if that explains it. So, for me, about the solstice, I become very aware right now of a frequency of vibration of, like the spirit, air, spiritual. Bob, of course, mentioned breath. Well, that word ruha in Aramaic, the word that was translated as spirit, you could take a Bible. I say this a lot, scribble out the word spirit, write the word breath above it. And the interesting thing about that is it gives you a much more immediate, direct experience, realization of what that really meant. And even the word spirit, spiritus, which he likely never heard in his life, the Latin was barely even forming it in the time of his life. but even spiritus means breath. We just kind of turned it into this disembodied whatever thing that floats all over the place. But it was something that was much more immediate for them. And we connect in through that, exactly as Bob did, connecting us in through the awareness of the rise and fall of the breath. And what I often say is to be curious, to be open, to essentially step into a room being aware of the rise and fall of your breath, and use all of the senses, all of what we call the physical senses. People have these ideas of transcend the body and all this other kind of stuff, but actually it's through that somatic realization of embracing the miracle, this gift that we have of a human body, whether we want to call it real or not. That's really how we are able to come fully into the present moment, into the now. And it's about using those senses. So you walk into a room and you're aware. You are aware of the sounds around you, the smells, the sights, all of the different ways of feeling what's going on around us without needing to kind of label it with thoughts, etc. And I wanted to actually share a quote from my book, Echoes of an Ancient Dream, because it really encapsulates everything I'm talking about, as opposed to like these ideas that we have of creating some kind of whatever great thing, which it can be important, but then we kind of complain about what we create because it may look disjointed or whatever. It's because we're not being fully present in the moment. When we come fully into the right now, into the present moment, you're never going to meet the next moment. I'd love to see, proof, if you have, of a future moment, because even when you get there, like now is past and now is past. It's all now. So here's a quote from Echoes I'd like to share. It says, I very clearly see, much like Yeshua, that true life comes not simply from what is clearly known, but rather even more so from the great mystery, from the vast expanse of non-knowing, from the clear, pure depth of what we do not know. We must remain open to those eternal forces which do not fit within our limited idea of five senses of taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. The echoing voice of eternity is not heard with the ear, but rather felt within the heart. In truth, even our five commonly accepted senses are a misnomer, as psychology has long embraced 21 or more individual and unique human senses. Yet the fact of only five human senses lives on as modern folklore. And the interesting thing about that is the way we transcend. And when I say transcend, I don't mean float over the top into some sort of heady realm, but actually ending the trance of our disconnection in this physical world is actually to embrace the physical world fully, and to be able to fall fully into those senses and be curious without needing to define whatever it is that we're experiencing, and then learning to manifest or create and or simply realize from that open space. And that's how we literally bring heaven onto earth. It's not some sort of lofty ideals of living up to something, but actually dropping all of this, without going into the whole solstice thing, which would take too much time. I will just end with this piece, that the cross, which is something that represents the three kings of Orion's belt, we'll talk about that maybe on the 31st, represents our eternal nature, which is that which is unborn, undying, can't touch it, can't see it, because you are that. What you're looking for is what is looking. And then we've got that human self, which is the horizontal aspect of the cross. And that's the part of us that's trying to become more of that which we already are. And the word excruciate literally means to suffer at the crux, at the cross point. And it was around long before Jesus was on a cross in different languages, in different forms. But that's that part where we are striving so much to, as an example, rise up to some kind of higher thing, when in truth, we already are that. And how do we actually embrace it? By literally exactly what Bob did for us. Being wholly, fully right here, right now. Be aware of the rise and fall of the breath. That's what spirit is, and be open. I'm complete.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dale. I love that. I love everything all you all do. It's so wonderful. Well, I'm excited to share with you guys what Jason and Heather have to offer us today. And there you can, I'm laughing here on my screen because Dale and I are in the cold and we're heading into sub-zero temperatures this week. And here's our California, Florida bunch, dressed in tropical wear. So you can see that we come from all over, and that's a good thing. So Jason, Heather, welcome, and would love to have you share with us.
Thank you
guys.
It's still cold here, though.
It is like
It's 58 degrees. That's cold.
Oh, bird.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. We take what we can get. We're like, oh, it's winter.
It's freezing
Oh my
here
God.
too. It's 65. It's freezing.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Get a jacket. Stay warm and cozy. Get the fireplace on, Shannon. Just we are one voice is definitely in so much deep gratitude for being on this journey this year with you, beginning at the beginning of the year of what we call Ascension 22, a master number, right? For those, that 22 is a big number for us in our home, and stepping into it and how it's been, and we've been presencing, and we're gonna cap it off at the end of the year. What a bookend, that it's been a journey with you all to really dive into what Ascension means. I used to do a series on Ascension coming from more of an ascended master realm, and I've evolved in my awareness of what Ascension really is these days. It's no longer really reaching out for figures of light. It's really going into the human, as we've been talking. And every time Dale, I want to say sings, but he doesn't sing, but he sings. It's like a beautiful epic, rock track that's going forever, and it sounds just beautiful. It takes you to the heights and the lows and all in between. So thank you all for all the pieces that you offer, and happy solstice. Got a few things to say about solstice, a little bit.
Oh man, it just, as everybody shared, it took us on a journey back to where we were this time last year. And Jason had just emerged from the tomb of the hospital, and the gratitude for the light that had emerged from that darkness, prior, just right about this time. We were kind of fresh out of that. And I was thinking, and then, whoops, and what's that? That was weird.
Spirit played a tune.
That was really weird. You didn't touch the guitar.
Wow.
And then at the summer solstice, I was in a car accident. And this idea of life, the way that it does, and like you said, Dale, brings us back to, can we just be with our breath in whatever the experience is, and slow down enough to see God fingerprints all over every part of it, no matter what it is. I think a lot of times in our spiritual development and our seeking, we keep thinking that we're going to be better because we're getting more tools and we have more of an understanding, and we're going to emerge from the suffering that human experience often is. And we realize that in the midst of all of that, the suffering is grace itself. And the two things that remain steady and constant are the breath and the sun, the light. And how beautiful that our journey with God, with spirit, doesn't have to be any more complicated than that, but to breathe and come like a child. And remember that we are always in the hands of the divine, no matter what it is our eyes are seeing. And that's grace. So you guys have each in your unique ways reminded us of that over and over again. And whenever we get on this screen together and I see us all in these boxes, it feels like meat and potatoes. Like I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's like this, there's girth, there's weight, there's substance, it's like everybody brings such a treasure trove of their own experience that you can't help but be fed. And so
I'm gonna add a glass of wine.
yes.
Potatoes.
Yeah.
Thank you for presencing that. It has been. I just posted the memory of that time and how important the breath, the sacred breath that I felt was having a hard time having. And I was nursing my health back in this time a year ago. And that is something I've always been so grateful for, and the stillness of that, knowing the breath will always be there. You know, but solstice is a time where we're remembering we're in this Christmas season here in the States, in most places, you know, that celebrate this season. You know, and I woke up today actually thinking of how I was really irritated as a kid when they took the X and put it in front of Mas and Xmas. And then the crossing, they took the cross out and put Xing. And I'm like, as a kid going, why are they taking the Christ and the cross out of everything? I don't understand. Very interesting, right? But this time, you know, of solstice is really, you know, I was looking it up going, what does this really mean to me? And you know, we've come from traditional Christianity and had to reconcile what is this, and knowing that, you know, Christianity kind of took a pagan day of Yule and kind of went, this is when the Christ was born, and all that to be said, we don't know historically when Yeshua ben Joseph was really fleshly born in Bethlehem. But the idea of the light being born, as Dale was saying, you know, the cross axis, when the sun was at its lowest for 3 days, and we're at that quiet time on the 22nd of Yule, and then 3 days later, boom, the light is birthed. And this season of death, we're talking a little bit about death and Bob's sister, and we might dive into that next year. But what is dying, and that grief and that loss of when the light seems to be disappearing. And we talked about it this morning. I was in tears with my beloved when we were talking about that stillness, that silent night, in the waiting, because in the darkest of the times, our faith knows the light is returning and will always return. We can count on the breath and the light returning. The sun's always shining, no matter if the clouds are blocking it or not, as the Course in Miracles talks about. And so just looking through the history, I was going to read something, but I just don't feel it's right for now, of the Hindu faith, of understanding the sun mantra called Surya Namaskara. It's a great 12. Of course, the 12 around the one, the sun, is such a mystical teaching and a deep dive to contemplate on. But knowing for us in our journey, it's what is wanting to die, and be in that death, allow what needs to die and go into that stillness and that mystery of death with the absolute faith and trust that the light in our heart, the light in our breath, that light in the voice is coming back. And being okay with the seasons, being okay with the journey, being okay. I found myself this morning a little bit, honestly, in resistance, going, wait, we're doing an event, about an event. What are we doing? Are we singing? Are we bringing up the mixer? I'm a planner, Bob. I tend to go like, I need to know things a little bit.
He's a planner.
You know, and because I've been producing events for 3 decades, I like to, you know, put the skeleton and then let spirit move through all of it. But, you know, when we're resisting death, we're resisting the darkness, it creates suffering. And if we can allow and just be with what is, knowing that there's a cycle within cycles, we tend to be in a little more peace. And whatever we call that, that I know for us is the gift of the season, is peace. And we wish you peace where you are, and we invite you to join us on the 31st, you know, to really dive into, you know, to bring it to a closure. And I know it's going to be great. And so I know my beloved's got a sun mantra song.
Yeah, this felt appropriate.
I might hum along with her a little bit.
Thank you for the light of our unity, dispeller of the dark, so that all may see. Golden colored one, the Christed mind and we, growing like a tree towards the sun, sun, sun. Om Mitraya Namaha, Om Suraya Namaha, Om Hiranya Garbhaya Namaha, Namaha. Om Mitraya Namaha, Om Suraya Namaha, Om Hiranya Garbhaya Namaha, Namaha. Swaha. Thank you for the light of our unity, dispeller of the dark, so that all may see. Golden colored one, the Christed mind in we, growing like a tree towards the sun, sun, sun. Om Mitraya Namaha, Om Suraya Namaha, Om Hiranya Garbhaya Namaha, Namaha. Om Mitraya Namaha, Om Suraya Namaha, Om Hiranya Garbhaya Namaha, Namaha. Swaha, Swaha, Swaha.
Those were 3 of the 12 of the Surya Namaskara mantra. Very potent Sanskrit phrases that you may not understand, but you feel.
For sure feel. Absolutely. It's beautiful. Thank you. Well, I wanted to just take 1 second to go back to something you said. You're a planner. You're a planner. And it sort of ties in with why we're here today. This was not planned. It was, this is sort of an accidental thing. And the Course of Miracles, as you referred to earlier, there's a statement that says a healed mind doesn't plan. So when we begin to integrate these practices into our being and totally trust and surrender to the presence and the guidance, then the gifts begin to really show up in ways that we never imagined. And so today, for those of you watching, is sort of an accident, but not really in divine means at all. So I've just really enjoyed being with all you guys here today, and want to thank everyone for tuning in. And just remind you that you can all sign up for our Ascension, our last of this year, on the 31st at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And it is ascendwinter.eventbrite.comn. ASCEND winter.eventbrite.comn. You can sign up and join us on the 31st at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I just want to, my closing statement is just, yeah, Bob, just 1 second, is there's all the traditions right now. It's the emergence of the light, the rebirth of the light. And I love the Jewish tradition of the Festival of Lights, the menorah. the shamash is the candle that lights all of the lights. And I've read it often, through this holiday season and in the past. It says the shamash is the light that lights other lights. It says, be the shamash. So I invite us all to be the shamash in all we do, and just feel really blessed and grateful to be a part of this group. And I want to turn it over to you, Bob, and any closing comments anyone else has.
We
We were just going to note the time. I think
start at noon.
Noon.
Oh, noon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. So it's noon.
Don't be late.
Noon. I'll see you at 1. So no, I'm just. Well, thanks for the reminder. Noon on New Year's Eve, Eastern time.
Shannon caught that, of course.
Good job, Shannon. See, Shannon catches us here. Anyone else before we close? Well, thank you all for this blessed time together, and thank you all for tuning in and joining us here today. And see you on the 31st. Namaste, everybody.
Yeah. Love you guys. We'll see you on the 31st.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Indeed.